All right, good evening. So we're just going to start now. Hope my voice is loud enough. I'm just going to get right into it. So first of all, we have to understand that we talked about backgrounds. We mentioned that there are like about two categories, right? We talked about the ones that are quite simple. Just to brush over this again, what I meant by simple backgrounds are really just backgrounds that are very much plain. They don't have so much elements in them. You can see the only elements in this design is really just the foreground elements. You understand? The background is plain, simple. It doesn't come from much attention itself. It's just doing the work it should do, which is being a platform that supports the foreground elements. That is every other thing that you want or the audience or the viewer of the flyer to see. You understand? So we also talked about the dynamic, or should I say dramatic, uh, backgrounds. These ones, they are not plain. They are more organic. They are more. Uh, Let me just say they are not that straightforward. They have a kind of personality in them. All right. So now you have to understand that you can't treat these kind of backgrounds like every other background. If you notice, backgrounds like this don't usually have much text. In this case here, I hope you can. Now, for example, this particular flyer that I did, now the core elements here, which is really the images here, it's kind of infused with the background, so it's seen as one. Notice that backgrounds like this that are usually quite dynamic, they have less text. I'm going to repeat that, they have less text as compared to something like this. This one has relatively more text. You understand? So, but usually when you want to have backgrounds like this, you backgrounds that has a lot of imagery. Let me put it that way. Backgrounds like this that have a lot of imagery, you try to deal with less text. The mistake that people make is that they put a lot of text. Let me give you. I think I should be able to get a clearer image of that. Now, okay, can we see this? I want to believe we can see this. So, notice that we just have very few text here. Understand? This is because of the nature of the images we have here. The background together is together with the core focus of this design, which is the faces that you can see. Do you understand? So it's not going to be great if I, with the level of, or should I say the level of imaging in this design, I now have so much text. It's not going to be wise. You understand? You should not have when you have busy backgrounds like this, or when you have designs that has a lot of imagery, you should know that your typography should be less. All right. I think that's the first thing we highlight. Okay, that's this. When you're having backgrounds that are dynamic, they usually have more imagery. So what you should do is that one first step you should consider is deal with less typography. That way you can create a better composition. All right. So we are going to talk about this particular flyer. Now, I said in the first case, dramatic backgrounds are either ready-made or composited. All right. What I mean is that now take a look at this. Take a look at this. Now look at this background. I think it started from yeah. This is the original picture. I'm going to show you the original picture now. This is the original picture. All right. Now, actually, this was what inspired the flyer that I did. I noticed that I love the green landscape behind the woman, and I don't want to take it out because I think it's part of the whole message. This was part of the Sktch cover challenge. Do you understand? So looking at the dressing, I could tell that okay, fine, this needs to look a bit more natural since she's dressing the African style, and African environment is of course characterized by green vegetation and the rest of them, especially in this our side, the Yoruba side. You understand? So I wanted to like put this in the flyer, but sorry, the album cover, not flyer. But I noticed that it's not so great looking at the fact that the image is cut. It's not a full image. All right. So what I did was that I needed to that now that's the inspiration I got to create the background. Understand? Had it been this image was big enough, I would have just used it directly, but it was not just big. It was not good enough for me to just make use of. All right. So I needed to recreate this background. after being inspired by what I can see here. So one of the things that gives you a good design is one of the things that influence good design is the image that you get. So if you have a very good photographer, if he gives you a very good image, trust me, you're going to have a very good design at the end of the day, depending on how we use it anyways. But let's move on. Now notice that it's not so different from what we have here. Now see that these trees, the trees at the behind her, were added there. So I successfully cut her out of the image, then imputed this tree because I wanted to bring in that natural feel that I saw in the image. Everything you see here, they are all composited. The sky is composited, the sun is composited, everything. So back to just to buttress the point I was trying to tell you, your backgrounds, your dramatic backgrounds can either be ready-made or composited. All right. So please, who is with me? Please, is there any question on that before we move on? Hello, is anybody there? Okay, so thank you, David. So, hello? Hello? I thought someone wants to say something. Abiodun. All right, I can't really hear you. So now, as I said, backgrounds can either be composited or ready-made. So these are one of the ready-made backgrounds you find. Now, in some other cases, note that your background will involve some other cases, your background will involve it will involve a focal element. All right, a focal element in the sense that look at this image, for example. Okay, look at this image, for example. There's already a focal element here, which is this model's face. Understand? It is integrated with the background. Let's say I don't want to cut it off. All right, so meaning I have to just work for my design. I have to work with this. Okay, I have to work with this image. I can't do anything to it. I don't want to take it out of the background. I want it together with the background the way it is. But at the same time, I need to put text. Now back to the first tip we highlighted. You cannot have a large mass of imagery and you have so much text at the same time. You can't have that. All right, you can't have that. You have to choose one that's going to stay on top. Do you want more typography or you want more imagery? You have to choose that. All right. Now, obviously, here we know that the image is quite large enough. All right. So if I'm going to put text on this, I have to first of all understand the composition of the background. I'm going to explain what that means now. What do I mean by composition of the background? What I mean is I understand the layer that already exists, or the composition that already exists, the forms. Now, to explain that practically, what this means is that we already have something taking up space. Okay, that's what it means. So we already have something taking up space. In this our design. And in this design, what is that thing that is taking up space? That is what? The image. Are you with me? Can somebody just unmute his mic and say something? So I know that someone is with me. So that is just like the composition of this particular background, Remember I said the focus of this design, which is what? The face. The focus is like what you see first when you look at it. What you see first, you see the model's face. You understand? That is what draws your attention first. Okay. Now, as I said, you have to understand the composition that exists within the background. It has been fused with our background, so we just call everything as background. Though we should know that this is a focus element that is on the background. You understand? So you have to first of all, if you want to put your type or whatever element you want to put, understand the composition that already exists in the background, so you know the level of type and how the size and the amount you can put on this. Now, with this knowledge, what this tells you is that this is the only space you have left to put anything. This is the only space you have left. So if I'm going to put text, for example, one, the text cannot be much. Let's say I want to put a paragraph text now. As I fill this with, let me take this down to, there's a 30, 36. And change this to buttons. And then let's see, fill it up with placeholder. Now, arrange this. Now, imagine I take out that thing now. You see that our background is still, we can see that our design is harmonious like this. It's not looking like something's interfering with another one. All right. So this is like the first step you need to consider whenever you're approaching a background. You have to first of all understand the composition that exists in that background. All right. Understand this so you know the space you now have left to now deal with other things. Understand? That's why whenever you're having too much images in your flyer design, try not to put much text anymore. Now take a look at this particular background now. This is a beautiful background, is it not? It is a beautiful background, but the mistake people will make is that you put, let's say you decide that okay fine, you started putting text everywhere. Let's to make a mistake here now. Sorry. This is no longer legible. You have challenges. Usually whenever you have busy backgrounds like this, there are some places that text will be legible, there are some places that text will not be legible. So you have to, like I said, understand the composition that exists in your design before you jump into applying text, all right, or other elements. Now let's try to see if we can analyze the composition in this design. So let's just quickly do this. Now the composition, the busy areas of this design is just basically everywhere that stands out to you first, and in this case I would say it's this side. So from this we know that this is where the only place we have to add text. This is the only place we have to add text. Every other place. Thank you very much, Eunice. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now you have to understand that okay, this is what we have left. So you now have to think, okay, what kind of text? The text I'm bringing in, these are the kind of things you actually have to study, so you know the level of text that you need to put in your design. All right. So we have identified that this is the only place that we can put our text. Then you go ahead and put something. Looking at how big this is, you can know that you can't put so much text. You either do this. Let's say I'll do this like this. Do this. And quickly do something. Color green. Oh no, sorry. Okay. Now notice as let me just speak just for sake of you. Yeah, not bad. Okay. Now you can see that this is very much better than the first one we had, and we have so much text everywhere. You understand? So first, remember what I said. First of all, understand the composition that exists in the image. All right. When you understand the composition that exists, you'll be able to identify the busy areas and the free areas. Okay. Remember what we had in the slide on Instagram. Identify the busy areas and the free areas of most dynamic backgrounds you're going to be working with. Okay, so now I said here, I hope you can see this. This type this type of backgrounds usually have their own composition independent of the foreground, meaning that the background itself has its own personality. All right, without the foreground, it has its own level of attraction. It has its own beauty and so on. So if you're going to be bringing in any other foreground element, it has to work with it. You understand? If this was a white background, I can put my text anyhow I want it, and it will not look like it's disturbing my text. But if I don't consider what I'm working on, it might affect the way my text is. It might affect the legibility of my text, and it might affect the whole overall composition of your design. All right. So let's just move on with what the best. So I said the best thing in this case is to identify and understand the existing composition and create a complementary composition in the foreground to work with it harmoniously. Now, I think we already talked about that. Identify the existing composition first, which we did. Then we placed a foreground composition, which is just this, and that is all for this background. If there is anything you want, of course, there are many ways to make use of this background. This is just a simple, straightforward way. You understand? There are many ways to make use of this background, but the general idea is that make sure that you don't have so big or so much things on the foreground, because the background already commands a high level of attention. It has, let me say, some focus elements on it. These leaves that you see here, they are quite attractive enough. If you want to create another focus, you will have competition, and it will not be great for your design. Your design should not have competition in it. There should be order. Okay, let's take a look at this now. For example, there should be order. You know that, okay, fine. In this design, you notice this model first. Understand? You see the name next. You notice the model first because most of the time human beings recognize fellow human beings first before any other thing. Understand? You notice the second before every other detail here. The background is also adds to what draws you into the design anyways. You understand? Because it has its own personality as well. For example, just to emphasize what I'm saying, if I take away everything here, the background still has its beauty. Do you understand? The background still has its beauty. Without everything I just removed now, it still has its own beauty there. Do you understand? So, like I said, the background, this kind of backgrounds usually have their own personality. So whatever you are doing, work with them. All right. So what I described here is that you can do this by placing more foreground content on the spacious areas. That is parts with little or negligible visual width. In this case, this center part where we place this in, they have less visual width. What I mean is that they command less attention as compared to these beautiful green leaves that you can see on the corners. Do you understand? All right. So like the description says, place more of your foreground content. Place more of your foreground content on these spacious areas. Now also place less or none of the foreground content on the busy areas. Sometimes best case, don't add any other thing to all these areas. But that doesn't mean you can still add. Maybe you have a little logo, you can just drop the logo there because just one, but that's to be small enough. And so let's say the logo I want to put is let's say KD, for example. Let's say something like that. And don't mind this logo, please. I'm just trying to do something quick for us. All right. Let's say my logo now. Let's say this is a logo. I can just put it somewhere here. All right. The main idea is that when you have space, you can put so much of a foreground element as far as you can take it harmoniously. But when you have the busy things, it's not be wrong for you to now place these ones. Let's say you place some of these here. It will not be so great, man. It's not going to be so great. It's not going to be so great. Now it's legible, yes, but you have to give it enough attention. I usually tell some people that whenever you're putting something on the fly, it has to be glaring. If it's something that you need people to read, make it glaring. If it's something that you don't need people don't really need to see, then make it subtle. You understand? All right. So is there any question before I move ahead? If there's any